2 Timothy 1, 3-8 is our text today. So please open your scripture, your holy scripture to 2 Timothy 1. So this morning we are doing a new series. We call it Overcomer. And the first one is fear. Overcoming fear. Let me start with this story. I read a true story that happened in Barcelona, Spain. Okay, so this is what happened. Are you ready? This guy was hitchhiking on the side of the highway. The truck that passed by stopped. The truck driver was actually driving an empty coffin at the back. So he stopped and picked up the guy hitchhiking and tells him to go to the back. So he did. A ride is better than no ride. So then it started raining. He figures he's safer and drier inside the coffin. So he went inside the coffin and he fell asleep. And then a few miles down the road, two guys were also hitchhiking. So this guy, this is true story. So the driver stopped again to pick up the two hitchhikers and tells them to go to the back. And so the driver started driving. A few miles later, the guy inside the coffin wakes up. And he opens the coffin's door, and he peeks and says, "Has the rain stopped?" And the two guys that were sitting outside the coffin, they were so terrified. The car was running very fast, and they jumped. One of them died. That's how terrified they were. They jumped even though it was a speeding car. So, in the Bible, I know we're talking about fear. In the Bible, it says that there's only one we need to fear. And that is fear God. Fear the Lord. Give you an example. It says in Deuteronomy 6:13 in the Holy Scripture, it says, "Fear the Lord your God, serve Him only." In Proverbs 1:7, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge." So throughout the Scripture, we are told to fear God. Everything else, to fear not. So that's our context today. So in the whole Scripture, to fear who? And everything else to fear not. Okay, so, but in our human existence, fear is part of our human emotions. So here's what happens. The whole human existence, we have come up with so many fears. In the Greek language, the word fear is phobos. Not obas, that's a different one. That's grapes. Phobos is where we get the word phobia. Phobias. So, because fear is a natural feeling of emotion, so we have come up with so many words to describe our fear. So, for example, claustrophobia. Claustrophobia. That is fear of enclosed space. Right? Or there's a Tagalog word in the Philippines word for that. You know what the word for that? Claustrophobia. I checked. It means duwag. Yeah, that's what it means. And another word, we hear the word acrophobia. That is fear of high places, like heights. And then there's another one, ergophobia, the fear of work. The Tagalog word for that, you know what it is? Tamad, yes. You know it, you got it, okay. Tamad means don't want to go to work. And, lastly, there's 700, over 700 different kind of phobias. But the last one I'm going to mention is pantophobia. You know what a pantophobia is? Pantophobia. No, that's pantophobia. Pastor Pantoa. Pantophobia is actually true. It's a fear of pastor, because it means fear of everything, including the pantoas. So we have come up with all these things because we have this natural feeling of fear. But the Bible reminds us, fear God, everything else, fear not. So I have good news for you today. The good news is this, that we are overcomers. It says in the scripture, this is the text that comes from the whole series. 1 John 5:4, it says, "For everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith." So there's a song called "Overcomers" by Mandisa. It is very good. I listen to that when I feel like this is gonna be a bad day for me. Then there is that song, "Overcomer." So that's the good news for us. But the text that we have today in 2 Timothy is the steps that we need to do to overcome fear. So we know it says fear God and fear not the rest, but we need some steps how we do it. So the first one in our text today is we need to walk by faith. In verse 5 of 2 Timothy chapter 1, it reads like this: "I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Louise and your mother Eunice. And I know that same faith continues strong in you." So Paul is writing to Timothy saying that, you have this faith. You have this faith that you got from your grandmother, your mother. This is the same faith that if you look at the context of 2 Timothy, this is a prison letter by Paul, meaning Paul is in prison. So he's writing to Timothy. So the context is in the context of imprisonment of Christians. So most people are afraid. You know what most people are afraid of? The dark. And also they are afraid of the unknown. When you don't know what is coming, they're afraid of that. Some people are afraid of flying. Some people are afraid of cruise. I guess you know what that is, right? A big laugh. So some people are afraid of so many things, but this text reminds us, how are we going to overcome this emotional, that we have this fear? Okay, so remember this thing. When we are afraid of something and we have fear of the unknown, you know what faith is? By definition, faith is like this, and I'm defining faith based not on Webster, but based on the scripture. Hebrews 11. It says this, that faith is the substance, meaning the content, the substance of things hoped for. What is it that you are hoping for? Is it a 7-day cruise? The substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen or not yet seen. So in other words, there's a word for that. That faith, there's another word. It's called vision. And vision is having this picture in your mind of what is to come. And so the Bible reminds us that faith actually is when we look ahead. Okay, give you an example. Okay, from the scripture, the same in the book of Hebrews, Moses. Okay, so Moses says this in the scripture, that Moses, he chose to be mistreated along with the people of God, rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin, he regarded this grace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking ahead to his reward. Looking ahead. So here's what happened. So Moses he could have been the next Pharaoh of Egypt. He could have been. But the pleasure of things in Egypt, that did not get him, because he has this vision, he has this faith. He was looking ahead. And so when you are afraid of the unknown, faith is very important. Here's why faith is very important, because in the scripture it reminds us that faith can do two things. Number one, faith, or faith and fear. Faith can, because of faith, it will help us to obey God. But fear, on the other hand, helps us to disobey God. Give you an example, okay? So King Saul, in the scripture, the first king, was in 1 Samuel 15 verse 24. In that context, he was asked by God to destroy everything, every living things. Those of you, I don't need to go through the context, you can read it, but he disobeyed God. He did not destroy everything. You know, his reason was, he was afraid. So fear disobeys, causes us to disobey, but faith causes us to obey. I'll give you an example. In Genesis 6:22, there's a guy named Noah, or Noe. We call him Noe. Noe. This guy is Noe. He was asked by God. It says in Genesis 6:22, you know what it says? Noah did everything God commanded him to do. That's what it says. He did everything. What was God asked of him? God asked Noah to build this big boat, this ark. And remember that Noah lived in the desert area, far away from the ocean. And he was also in the middle of a heat wave. There was no rain. But God asked him to build this big boat the size of a cruise liner. And so can you imagine all the people that were telling him, you're crazy, you're out of your mind. But why did Noah obey God? Because of his faith. It says in 11:7a of Hebrews, it was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. So faith is very important when we face fear in our lives. Someone says that regardless of what men's progression of faith may be, if they are under dominion of fear, they are practical atheists. So if you are a follower of Jesus and you still have this fear, it's not really that you are believing in God, because God is not of fear. So faith is very important. Here's the second part from our text, and I'll explain what this means. I hope this is not cryptic to you. But how do I overcome fear? Light the fire. I know we have fire in British Columbia. We don't need another fire. So that is not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about the fire in your heart here. I'm talking about, let me give you a context why Paul said this, okay? So Paul says, fan into flame, he says, the spiritual gift God gave you when I laid my hands on you. Why did Paul say this? Because it was the time where Timothy was fearful. Why? Because when Timothy received this letter, as I mentioned, Paul was in prison in Rome the second time. So, he was expected to be executed. The emperor at that time, his name was Nero. Nero was a very crazy emperor. You know what he did? He killed a lot of his family. He killed his nephew. He also killed his mother, his wife, stepmothers. He killed all that. And in 64 AD, he destroyed the city of Rome with fire. And he blamed the Christians. So he said, it's the Christians who set these things on fire. So then the start of the persecution of the Christians began. And so, can you imagine? So Paul was in Rome, in prison, prepared to be executed, and Timothy received this letter from Paul. And so he was afraid too, because it was the time in the church history which is called the Carnival of Blood, with a lot of Christians, because Nero would have a party in his backyard, and he would have a pole, like a light, and in that pole, on the top of the pole, gasoline and stuff, is a Christian. Set that Christian on fire and have a party. And so that was scary to be a Christian, and even scary to be a pastor. And that's what Paul was, and Timothy. So he was afraid, and so sensing that fear, Paul encouraged him to fan into flame. So to light the fire. Let me give you an example of the opposite of this. You know what the opposite of light the fire is? That's what the water bomber is doing now, right? It is to douse the flame with water. So for Christians, we're supposed to light the fire. So in other words, we have the spiritual gifts, get to know it and use it. That's how you light the fire. But to douse the fire is the opposite way of that. Okay, here's what, in my observations of many Christians who have lost their passion for God. I know some of you are doing this, so one of the things I noticed, you know what it is? Is yoga. Let me explain this. I know a lot of Christians are doing this. So it's not only you, some of you, but a lot of other Christians I know are doing yoga. So yoga is an activity, a spiritual activity from a yogic religion. Yogic religion is talking about Hinduism, Buddhism. That's the kind of religion. So yoga, if you read through yoga, yoga are positions. You know all the yoga positions? I don't know all the positions that you do. But do you know that those positions are not designed for exercises? The yoga positions are designed to do two things. Number one is worship one of the over, 3 million Hindu gods. That's the first purpose of yoga positions. The second is to facilitate a flow of what they call prana, which is the life force. In other words, yoga positions were meant to lead those doing exercise to enlightenment and awareness of their inner divinity, of their inner God. So in other words, in my research, a lot of Christian scholars are now saying that it's not, because some Christians are asking this question: is it possible to just do the yoga as an exercise? That's the main question. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that, just an exercise, you need exercise. So the Christian experts are now saying it is impossible to have yoga as an exercise because those yoga positions are not meant to be exercise. It's like for those who do the sign of the cross, right? It's hard to say that those who do the sign of the cross are for biceps exercise, right? Like, so, wow. So you can't say, oh, it's just for exercise, I'm doing the sign of the cross, because it meant to be, the cross is a spiritual thing. So some scholars are now saying it is impossible, therefore, to say that yoga positions are just for exercises, because you're doing two things. One, you're worshiping those positions. They have different kind of gods, like the sun god. So when you're doing the sun position, you are not just doing sun position, you're worshiping the sun god. And so those are positions. And second of all, you're trying to enlighten yourself and be aware of your inner divine nature, which you don't. You are purely human. And so that is the yoga position. So I have another test that I did. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. I asked one of my classmates in Charlotte last week, she is from Nepal. She was a former Hindu. And so I said, is it true that the yoga positions from a Hindu perspective, okay, are worshiping gods? And she said yes, and not only that, she said that she cannot believe that Western Christians are deceived in thinking that yoga are only exercises. Because she is from a Hindu background, she did all that stuff. She knows that it has a spiritual attachment to it. So where am I leading? I'm leading to the, instead of lighting the fire, that is actually the dousing of water into your faith, because I've seen a lot of Christians who, it starts weakening their faith. Sometimes they stop reading the Bible. Sometimes they stop praying. And it slowly disintegrates into not attending Bible study or not attending the church. And I've seen quite a few. So I guess this is a warning to just watch out for that. Light the fire, not douse your faith. So basically, this is why I remind you to fan into flames. So there are so many things that will not fan the flames of your spiritual life. They will pour water. And so if you still have other questions or all the research that I've done about yoga, talk to me. And we can do the positions together. Here's the last one. Stay focused. I like this because it says this. The first two words of this I underline. It says, for God. Stay focused. When you are afraid, when you have fear in your life, stay focused on who? Stay focused on God. For God. Why it starts with for God? Because it says, the context of this, it says, you can even reword this way, okay? Verse 7, it can be translated this way. It is not God that gives us a spirit of fear, but He gives us a spirit of power and of love and of sound mind. In other words, this text reminds us that fear is not of God. Fear is from someone else other than God. So if we focus on God, we don't focus on our fear, because God is not the source of fear. Let me give you an illustration, okay? I know grouse grind is here, is open. Some of you are doing grouse grind already. When you do grouse grind, you know what I'm talking about, grouse grind, the exercise on the grouse mountain, for those of you who doesn't know. For beginners, the reason why I'm sharing this, because I meet new people who climb and say, they come down and say, oh, I can't do this, they're so terrified. But my suggestion is, when you climb the grouse grind, you simply focus on one step at a time. You know why? Because I do this, okay? I look down and I say, wow, I've done so much. Wow, you're good, Cres, you're doing good. And then you look up and say, oh no, I still have these 3 mountains, I got all the rounds. So if you look down, you'll get discouraged. If you look up, if you look down, you get proud. And if you look up, you get discouraged. So the best way to do is to just stay focused one step at a time. And it's the same thing with our life. When you are afraid of something, it says here the 3 things we need to focus, very specific. It says first, focus on God's power, because the Bible reminds us, the Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? If you're focused on God, there is nothing else to fear. So focus on God. The other one is focus on God's love. Because it says, such love, talking about the love of God, has no fear, because perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is not for fear of punishment, but this shows that we have not fully experienced His perfect love. In fact, Romans 8 reminds us in verse 31, it says, no one can separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ. So if we focus on God's love, there is nothing else to fear. Here's the other one. Focus on self-discipline. Because the Bible reminds us, but have nothing to do with worldly fables fit only for old women. On the other hand, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. Okay, Paul is not looking down on old women. Okay, they're just. It says that the context is they didn't have any more things to do except all the chit chat and all the other stuff. In the context, okay, of their, doesn't mean it's the same in our context here. Our seniors are happily going around taking the bus, SkyTrain, all that stuff. They're not doing this. So focus on self-discipline. Self-discipline, can I just explain to you what self-discipline in a very simple way? Self-discipline is when you go to an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet and you only eat 6 pieces. Yeah, exactly, right? Can you do that? That's called self-discipline. How impossible can it be? Well, if you have the self-discipline, you could. Okay, for example, what if it's a free but still all-you-can-eat sushi buffet and someone paid for you? So you don't have to worry about, oh, I paid for it, I better eat a lot. What if it's free? Would you still eat 6 pieces of sushi? No? But self-discipline is eating 6 pieces of sushi in an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet. Sometimes they use the words delayed gratification. But self-discipline is, in the Bible, there's so much things to say about self-discipline, which is also the same as self-control. It says in Proverbs 25:16, it says, if you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it and you will vomit. Of course, it's a proverb, so it's not talking about honey, it's talking about self-discipline, self-control. When to stop. When to know that enough is enough. How about this? Proverbs 25:28. Like a city breached without walls is one without self-control. Because in the ancient time, like the Great Wall of China, that's why they built that, is because if you have a city with no walls, you're in danger. So self-control is like the wall that protects us from our fear and from our self-destructive tendencies. So fear has kept so many people from following the Lord, and some people even are afraid to be generous to God or to others. You know why? Because they might not be able to pay their bills. So all the fear. So sometimes fear gets in the way of God's work in our lives. Okay, so let me apply this. Okay, so this, the 3 words, the 3F. Well, you know what it is? Remember? Faith, fire, and focus. You can use this when you're going through fear in your life. But guess what? You can also use this when you're going to school. Because, you know, people just graduated and they're still going to school. Okay, for example, vision. You gotta see yourself trying to cross that stage, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts or Master of Arts or something like that, you know, or a Doctor of Medicine, DMD. or a neurosurgeon. You gotta have this vision. That's faith. You gotta have that faith that you can, you're imagining yourself receiving the diploma. Okay, so, but it's a lot of work between now and that day. So what you do is, you focus. Focus on your study, focus on, not having a boyfriend yet, or a girlfriend, because you need to study hard, right? So you focus on the day-to-day work, and even with your focus, you still get discouraged. So you need that fire. The fire is like something that reminds yourself, I need to do this. So let me just say this: every person and every church and every organization in the world needs faith, fire, and focus. You know why? Because faith is the vision, and the fire is the values that keeps you driven, and the focus is the mission, the day-to-day execution of the mental picture that you have. So you can use pretty much this on anything, in your marriage, in your work, in your school. So overcoming fear with faith, fire, and focus. Let me just illustrate this. I read about two men who saw this huge field in California. One guy said, because it was for sale, right? So one guy said, this field is just all empty and just garbage in there. So he didn't see anything else, so he didn't buy. But the other guy, you know what he did? When he saw the field, he got so excited. He said, wow, this is the place that I've been dreaming all about. I can picture some roller coaster here, some stuff over here. I mean, it's an empty field. So two guys with two different pictures. And so the guy with a picture, he bought the land, did all the stuff. I mean, he could dream all these things. He could not touch it, he could not see it. But he could have that mental picture and this wild imagination. And today that place is called Disneyland. Some of you are going there. So you know that the picture and the vision that you have, it works for everything. This faith, fire, and focus. You know, some of the things I do, I'm able to skip a free golf now because I have this focus of things I need to finish. I gotta say, oh no, I'm sorry, even if it's a free golf, I need to finish something. That's called focus. And you sacrifice things, but that's what in my mind. Faith, fire, and focus. Something that we need. And so, the overcoming of anything in life, this is what we need to do. To have faith in God, to have the fire in our hearts, and to focus on the things that we need to do. Amen?